project of a lifelong goal of yours, which is a really good backside 50-50 on coping, but pool coping specifically, which I think is, you just added intensity, but it's awesome. Let's take a look at how that's going. Anything that you're thinking about right now currently and what you're learning?
Right now, I'm up on coping. It slid a couple times and it surprised me, and it's made me go woohoo! I'm headed there, and it usually freaks me out so much that I fail. So
that's awesome.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Thank you.
That's awesome. You're making steps. Well, let's take a look at the video and see what we see. It's been a while. You've been working on your backside 50-50s, working on your axle stalls. And I mean, I've seen you do some little grinds on the lower coping, but what's amazing is now you're taking it to your pool coping, which, by the way, gnarly choice on coping, because that just makes everything harder, but way cooler. So in this video, it shows all the hard work you've put in. You've done, I mean, how many reps do you think you've done? Backside axle stalls, 5-0 stalls. I mean, all kinds of different things. Like,
in the past couple of weeks, I've probably done over 1,000 turns.
Yeah. And some of the coolest things that I've seen in some of the videos, back to that Rotary Alignment video that we did a while back, you're now almost totally aware of when you're moving well with your skateboard, shoulders, connected to hips, connected to board, versus when you're not. And every time we talk about it, you're so accurate in what you're seeing in yourself. It's really cool, because I think now, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're starting to see things and you can go right back to what it felt like when you were doing it.
That's a good analysis. Skateboarding is always been a self-taught sport. And so my key thing that I'm trying to work on here and develop here is my ability to do self-analysis, so I can self-correct and self-improve. DIY. Skateboarding is all about DIY. So
yeah,
you really helped me become aware of what's going on, so that I can correct in line while I'm skateboarding.
Yeah, you have a framework now. Now you have a place to start from. We have a language that we speak to each other, and you now are developing your own understanding of what you see, and you're even communicating with yourself differently than you were when we first started. So it's clear to me that you are doing just that. You are self-analyzing beautifully, and one of the byproducts is what we're about to see right here. So this is really cool. Watch this a couple times, but that right there, be it ever small and short, that is a little backside 50-50 on pool coping,
which is what I'm going for. I want to do ultimately.
I love this. I love what I'm seeing right here, and because this is you grinding on trucks. This is not you rocking back on the wheels and then rolling across the deck on your heels. This is you grinding on your trucks just for a split second. That's a great thing. But I want you to watch something really important, because you keyed into this. You said when you watched this video earlier, the first time we were watching it, you're like, see, I just don't stay in. I rock back and I get out of the grind, which is exactly right. That's maybe the hardest, scariest thing, is to stay in, go with it, and then drop back in. Even though you've done 1,000 kick turns, it's still, there's some intimidation. Is that right?
That's exactly it. It's scary to stay inside the ramp, because if I stay inside the ramp and I don't go up on the platform, it means I'm fully committed. There's nowhere to go but forward.
Right. So a couple things. One thing you can do, look, you're rocking back to balance in an axle stall, which, you rock back onto the deck towards your heels right here. Mm-hmm. One thing you can do is stand there, take your back foot off the board, and push yourself across the coping a few times. So imagine just literally, you're not trying to drop in, just keep the board. You can use your lead foot to keep the board balanced over the coping how you want it. And then literally put your foot on the deck, your back foot on the deck, and push yourself, kind of like how snowboarders push themselves across the snow. Push yourself across the deck or across the coping that way, and get a feel for that grind. Does that kind of make sense? Because that one of the scariest things is just it feels so different to grind on metal and concrete than it does to roll on wheels. It's a crazy difference. There's a lot of friction, right? What do you think of that?
Well, it's not an approach I was just talking about, which is staying in, but it is it's attending to that one thing that's really scary, which is grinding on coping, because that's not a common feeling.
Right.
So I love it, and I can totally do that. I can picture myself doing it right now. I know what it's going to feel like. It's going to feel safe and gnarly at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
And that's I mean, the first step is just getting a feel for that. Now, as you practice with your board tipping down into, so you use your front foot and just hold the board at an angle where your board stays tipping down inside the coping or down inside the tranny, rather than doing it with your board flat or parallel level to the deck. Do it so that you're holding that board where you want it, where you grind when you actually do the grind, right? So that's a big step. The next thing is you need to start practicing your 50-50s, your axle stalls, right? Your axle stalls while you stay inside. So instead of rocking up to tall and delaying that stall, let's just go for touching, getting the front trucks down and then dropping right back in. So in this case, right here where you touched, you'd already be coming back in. And the angle of your body right here is really good. I want to do just a quick little thing here. But you can see, like, from foot to head, you're tipped inside the coping right there. Let's stay there. Let's just re-enter. No grind required. Let's see if you can do some axle stalls, and you can try it on your low coping first if you want, or do it on your pool coping. Doesn't matter to me, whichever one feels more comfortable to you. But let's see if you can just do a quick axle stall. So think of it as like a touch, right? You touch and you get right back into the training. Does that make sense?
It does. And what I'm visualizing and feeling when you say this is that my inside wheels can touch the inside wall, but my top wheels do not touch the platform. I think that's going to help me in mind.
That's really good. And I think what you're going to start to find is that you'll start to find that tipping point where you're doing an axle stall and you're teetering at like a 45-degree angle over the coping, and no wheels are touching. You're going to find that, but you got to give yourself that mental commitment of, I'm going to roll up, I'm going to quickly touch the front trucks, and I've got to go right back in, because what that's going to teach you is to stay committed to the rotation like a kick turn. Think of this more like you're touching the trucks in the middle of a kick turn, rather than you're touching the trucks or you're stalling and then you're going back in. Like, that's a two-step thing. I'm going to go stall and then I'm going to go back in. Now you're going, I'm going to do a kick turn at the coping where I touch my front trucks in the middle of the kick turn, but I keep on going. Does that make sense?
All right. It does. It totally makes sense. I've got some video that I shot before. I don't think I passed it up yet. We can put it up later. That I'm on the low quarter pipe back there, and I'm doing what I call badass slaps with my front truck. And I go up to the coping and I get on it, and I not only just do a stall, but I lift it up and I go wham, wham, and I make it ring, and then I go back in.
Right. So I'm going to play. I want you to watch a couple of these and just see. Let's see if any of these, I'll let it play normal, and let's see if any of these you stay more inside, or if all of them you're rocking into a stall. Like, that's really the question. So full rock into a stall, and especially when your board grinds, you tend to step back off the board. You're like, whoa, what's happening? The last thing,
very consistently stepping out.
Yeah, that's just that momentum carrying you out. Now, one thing I want you to think about is the reason why that's happening. So your momentum is carrying you back onto the deck simply because when you turn the board, you're going straight across the ramp, and you're going pretty much straight up the tranny. That means your path of momentum is going straight up the tranny.
Right. So you get at an angle.
That's right. When you turn your body across, you haven't redirected momentum across the coping at all. That one you did a little bit, right? When you redirect your momentum across the tranny into the coping, then when you hit coping, you'll be able to stay inside more. So that's a critical factor, but it's a commitment factor too, because it's going to feel like you're going faster. You like going straight in because you know where it leads. It leads to a stall. It leads to safety on the deck if you want it, right? So the momentum you're seeing is just all that momentum going straight up the tranny out to the deck, and you're turning your board across that momentum. Of course, you're going to rock out to the deck if you have a lot of speed. Two ways you can avoid that is you can slow down and have just enough momentum to make it to the coping, just enough, right? That'd be one way. The other way would be to redirect yourself in a bit of a carve across the coping, if that makes sense, or across the tranny.
Right. Last week, you had me working on putting weight on my front toe, bending my front ankle as I was going up the tranny. And that was giving me the carve. I think I'm not doing it here. So third thing for me to work on now, I think, is to carve into the move.
Yep, exactly. That's going to redirect momentum across the tranny, across the coping, and it's going to lead to grinding. So beware. When you do that, you're going to start grinding more. So feel free to start with your straight on approach. Just slow down so you have just enough momentum to just barely get to the coping, quick touch and go. Then start to carve into it and carry yourself across the coping, across the tranny that way. And before you do any of that, make sure that you step up onto the deck and practice grinding. You may find that you can give yourself a push, step onto your board, and drop in from the coping with a little grind right there on the deck. So you might find that makes sense to you. If it doesn't, that's okay. Just get a feel for it with some single steps.
Got it. So three things. I need to tap and roll. So I just go up and barely touch the coping. I push on the coping.
Down, tap and roll. Yep.
And then I also carve in. Got it. Thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.
All right.
Our goal is to help you learn how to skateboard and understand more about skateboarding. If this video helped you, be sure to hit us up in the comments below and tell us what you'd like us to focus on for our next video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and then subscribe to our channel and tell your friends all about us. If you'd like to learn more about the United States Skateboard Education Association, please visit www.ussea.us, where you can learn more about how to skate, learn more about helping others learn how to skate, and become a certified skateboard coach.